Our planet was a cruel place long before humans appeared, a non-alcoholic beer. Now I want to travel to every corner of our Earth to tell you about the most terrifying predators that broke spines, swallowed whales, ate their relatives, and worst of all, really existed. Canada is known not only for its apologies and maple syrup, but also for being the place where the remains of the first predator on Earth were found. Anomalocaris was half a meter long with a pair of tentacles ending in hooks. In the context of the Cambrian Ocean, it was like a 6-meter shark among aquarian fish. It was evolution's first attempt to create something that modern vegans hate us for today. This guy's mouth was unlike anything that had come before. A ring of hard plates that functioned as a cutting tool, something like a living can opener. Even trilobites with shells that had previously seemed impenetrable became its prey. At that time, it was the only hunter, while other creatures of that era simply filtered particles from the water. Anomalocaris was a glitch in the system. For the first time, life became a hunter rather than prey. But life did not stop there. More than 500 million years had passed and predators already ruled the land. In Australia, this niche was filled with Megalania, the largest land reptile in history. It grew up to 7 meters in length, weighed over a ton, and belonged to the monitor lizard family. Its bite not only maimed, but also slowly killed, thanks to toxins in its saliva. It fed on giant kangaroos and 2-ton diprotodons, animals that seemed invincible themselves. And most importantly, it lived in an era when the first humans had already appeared on the continent. So this lizard definitely fed on us. Australians. And a bit further up, or wait, maybe not, whatever. Around 50 million years before that giant lizard, the Earth looked completely different. Somewhere in what is now India lived the Rajasaurus. The name translates as king lizard, and it is well deserved. It was a 7-meter-long predatory dinosaur with a strange horn on its forehead. The horn was most likely not a weapon. It served as a demonstration of power, something like a crown. Its curved and sharp teeth allowed it to attack even the multi-ton giants of its time, the Icysaurus. It lived in the Lametta Formation, a place that was literally a dinosaur factory, and it was there that Rajasaurus stood at the top of the food chain. Meanwhile, around the same time in what is now Portugal, Torvosaurus ruled the land. Unlike the king lizard from India, he had to fight for his place among other massive theropods of Europe. Portugal gave science the most complete remains of this dinosaur, often seen as a prototype of T-Rex, an early rough draft of the future king of predators. Torvosaurus had such a powerful bite that its teeth left ragged marks on the bones of Laurinhassasaurus and Zebe atlanticus, sauropods up to 15 meters long that roamed the same Portuguese lands. And what's interesting, Torvosaurus wasn't limited to the Iberian Peninsula. Its fossils have been found in France, Switzerland, and even the US. Turns out, long before the colonial empire, Portugal was already exporting conquerors. But that prehistoric colonizer never made it to Madagascar, and frankly, the place already had enough nightmares of its own. Here ruled Majungasaurus, an abyssosaurid that went down in history as an officially documented cannibal. Scientists found the same tooth marks on his bones as on the bones of his prey, meaning this predator didn't just hunt herbivores, he also hunted himself. Well, not literally himself. It's not like he was chasing his own tail like a dog. He hunted others of his own species. Unlike agile predators, Majungasaurus was heavy and clumsy, but he made up for it with persistence, chasing victims until they dropped from exhaustion. Paleontologists compare his hunting style to that of a hyena, long pursuit, then brutal finish. So yes, on Madagascar, the biggest threat to a Majungasaurus was another Majungasaurus. But in Mongolia, victims died not from bites, but from blows that left deeper scars than teeth. Therizinosaurus lived there, a dinosaur armed with the longest claws in the history of the animal world. Each one was up to a meter long. It had a toothless beak, a body like a giant bird, and front limbs that could be mistaken for an evolutionary glitch, if not for their function. Scientists believe that these claws could have been a tool for feeding. For example, to pull up branches or to defend against predators. Therizinosaurus lived alongside Tarbosaurus, the Mongolian equivalent of T-Rex, and although it was most likely omnivorous or herbivorous itself, it had plenty of reasons and opportunities to prevent itself from being eaten. Meanwhile, across the sea in the east, the situation was quite the opposite. Their hunting was fast, aggressive, and without any giant claws. Japan boasts Fukui raptor, a medium-sized predator with the manners of a true samurai. It was not a giant, but it had everything for close combat: incredible maneuverability, long grasping front paws, and rows of teeth, and blah blah blah. Okay, I realize that this block is not interesting at all. I added Japan only because of my love for Chinese dumplings. But the next country made it onto this list solely because of its unique and terrifying predator. If you found yourself in France 30 million years ago, you would most likely raise the white flag if you saw a Hyaenodon in front of you. Hyaenodon is what would remain if a wolf, a lion, and a bear decided to have a child together. Its jaws opened at an angle of almost 90 degrees, and its bite was so powerful that even modern predators look like vegetarians in comparison. It didn't just kill, it waited. It could chase its prey for days until it was exhausted. But the next predator didn't even give you a chance to get tired. It just fell from the sky, like punishment for something you didn't do. Haast's eagle lived in New Zealand 700 years ago. It was literally a predator from the Middle Ages, and it wasn't just a big bird, but a bird capable of killing you with a single blow. Weighing 15 kilograms, with a wingspan of 2 meters and claws the size of a tiger's paw, it hunted moa, giant birds weighing up to 200 kilograms. It attacked from the sky with the force of a cheetah, but in feathers. The most frightening thing is that it lived until the arrival of the first humans. The Maori have legends about a giant bird that kidnapped children. It is quite possible that it also hunted adults, but considering the size of the people living in New Zealand, this is not surprising. Today, Antarctica is just ice, penguins, and secret military bases that, for some reason, no one talks about. But 190 million years ago, everything looked completely different. Back then, the continent was covered in forests, the climate was mild, and at the top of the food chain stood Cryolophosaurus, a 7-meter-long theropod with a bizarre crest on its head. And it is still unknown why he had this Elvis hairstyle. Some say for attraction, others the thermoregulation, and some that he just looked like an idiot. In any case, it was the southernmost predator of the Jurassic period, and it tore apart primitive sauropods such as Glacialosaurus, massive, slow herbivores. And if we climb out of the Antarctic ice to the warm and fertile forest steppe and rewind time 30 million years, we find ourselves in Ukraine. And it is here that the story of one of Europe's most underrated predators, Amphision, begins. Known as the bear dog, it gained fame during its short life as the most fearsome predator in European history. It weighed over 500 kilograms, had powerful jaws, and a body capable of chasing and killing prey over long distances. It hunted early ungulates, such as Anchitherium. Ukrainian finds are the oldest in Europe. It seems that this is where the genus originated. And then, as befits a true Slav, it spread in all directions, west, east, and even to North America. But if Amphision had wandered into the tropical swamps of modern-day Colombia, it wouldn't have lasted long. Because 10 million years later, an animal appeared in its territory that didn't chase its prey. It simply swallowed it whole. Titanoboa is the largest snake in the history of Earth. It was up to 13 meters long and weighed over a ton. It lived in the swamps of the Paleocene epoch, when the temperature was 5 to 10 degrees Celsius higher than today. And snakes had the energy resources to grow to the size of a bus. It fed on giant freshwater turtles, caimans, and crocodiles. It didn't hiss. It crept stealthily through the mud and broke its victims' spines with a force of over 400 kilograms per square centimeter, which is, I don't know. In short, it's very strong. Paleontologists even have a theory that its disappearance gave mammals a chance to evolve further, because none of them could survive in the swamps where Titanoboa lived. Thanks to this, millions of years later, Smilodon populator appeared nearby in Brazil. It sounds like the name of a metal band, and in a sense, it is. Smilodon populator is the largest saber-toothed cat that ever lived on Earth. It had fangs almost 30 centimeters long, like machetes. But that wasn't its special feature. It didn't tear like a lion. It aimed between the ribs, straight into the lungs, and cut immediately. It hunted giant sloths, mastodons, and glyptodonts. These animals weighed as much as a truck at the time. Let's not stray too far from South America and remember the largest crocodile in history, which lived in Venezuela. Purosaurus is one of the largest land-water predators in history, 12 meters long, weighing over 8 tons, and all this was hidden in the swamps of the Amazon. Its bite is estimated at 69,000 newtons, twice that of T-Rex. And the shape of its skull suggests that it could grab and hold its prey for a long time, until it literally fell apart. Purosaurus attacked from below, from the water, with perfect camouflage, silently. There was no chance of survival in a tropical river. And in general, it seems that Latin America has always been dangerous, so I suggest climbing over the wall and taking a look at the largest predator that ever lived in the United States. You all know everything there is to know about T-Rex, so I'm going to tell you something you didn't know. There is a theory that those tiny legs were not underdeveloped, but rather a highly specialized tool. Some paleontologists believe that it could hold its partner during mating or finish off its prey with a paw that could pierce the neck like an axe. Another hypothesis says that T-Rex sang. Its skull had cavities similar to resonators, which means that perhaps it did not roar like in the movies, but emitted low infrasonic vibrations that passed through the ground, penetrated the bones, and caused the internal organs of its prey to tremble. Personally, I think T-Rex could do that, and I'm super smart, so most likely that's how it was. However, T-Rex was not the strongest predator in the history of Earth. At least that's what the screenwriters of Jurassic Park 3 told us. Spinosaurus from Egypt is the first known aquatic dinosaur, but the most interesting thing doesn't start there. It didn't have typical hind legs. They were short and strangely turned, like a rower's. Its nose worked as a sensor. It caught vibrations in the water similar to modern crocodiles, and its tail, almost perfectly shaped for swimming, resembled that of an eel rather than a reptile. But the boldest hypothesis is that Spinosaurus hardly ever walked on land. Some paleontologists believe that it could have spent its full life in water, like a crocodile. But even worse, it could hide underwater for hours, leaving only its nostrils exposed, and wait. And if this is true, we are dealing with a one-of-a-kind dinosaur that did not go into the sky or onto land, but back into the water, and did so successfully. And in the water 90 million years later, Livyatan melville was already waiting for it. The remains of this giant sperm whale were found in Peru, and it was here on the coast of South America that it occupied the same ecological niche that the killer whale now occupies. Livyatan was a giant sperm whale that reached the size of 18 meters and fed not on plankton or squid, but on other whales. Its teeth were longer than those of Megalodon and much more massive. It was named Leviathan because its role in this sea was so obvious. It was a biblical horror come to life. But now it is extinct, so it is gone. Well, let's finish where we should finish, in a country that has always been a refuge for various freaks that threaten others. Argentina. And there lives Arctotherium, the largest bear in history. It weighed over a ton and stood up to 4 meters tall on its hind legs. It could knock down a mastodon. Just imagine a giant bear knocking down something like a mammoth. It could also chase a saber-toothed tiger, and fossils found in Argentina indicate that this genus had its largest representatives here, larger than anything that walked on 4 legs, literally. So, we still have a few centuries left, about 170, but to be honest, I'm a little tired. So, if this video gets 500,000 likes, I'll definitely